Hey, what's up guys? My name is True Underdog, and I make fighting game videos. These can be character guides, combo tutorials, and so on. However, today I'm trying something a little bit different. I thought we'd discuss a potential DLC character that's coming out in Kombat Pack number 2. This character got a lot of people excited, even though they were excited for a lot of other characters too, like the Xenomorph Baraka, and even Bo' Rai-Cho, and hell, some people are even excited about Leatherface. That being said, today is not about any of them. Today is about the Tri-Cyborg. Although he does go by many different names, that's the one that I'm choosing to stick with, because I think it sounds the coolest, and it describes him perfectly. So today's big question, dogs, is this. Is the Tri-Cyborg awesome or awful? So let's talk about it. This new character from Kombat Pack number 2 is both Cyrax, Sektor, and Smoke all in one magical combination. Now that being said, it got a lot of players excited, but it has me feeling a bit timid. And I have a couple reasons why. But before I say any of them, please understand that I would love if this character was all three characters in one. But think about what that means. Imagine a character that could be Cyrax, and Sektor, and Smoke completely. That would be a very unbalanced fighter. They would be very overpowered and very unfair. So chances are they're not going to play just like your favorite characters. If you're a Smoke fan, he's only going to be about half what you want. If you're a Cyrax fan, only about half of what you want, and the same goes for Sektor fans. He's not going to have every move. The only way I could ever see that happening is if his combos do no damage whatsoever. Reptile is actually a good example. Reptile can't get more than 30% without meter, and in fact most of the time he's getting around 25%, or a little bit below that. That being said, he has very good mix-ups and great mobility, as well as a bunch of projectiles. So I think he's a good model for the Cyrax Sektor Smoke hybrid, because they will definitely have a lot of moves and a lot of mobility options, but their combo damage shouldn't be that much. And keep in mind that Sektor and Cyrax both did a lot of damage. Smoke did good damage too, but his main weapon was being very good with mix-ups. He had lows and overheads in his combos and could loop them over and over again, which in my opinion made him a bit boring and stale, but still a very good character to play with. Sektor had some okay mix-ups, but he also had some missile attacks that could lock onto the opponent, which was great for jailing. If you don't know what jailing means, it's when you lock the opponent down and they're forced to block. If they don't block, they get hit. That's what jailing means. So in other words, you could do a lock-on missile and then jump in and do a combo, then the missile would hit. They were either forced to block it or get hit and then juggled. Unless they had meter, in which case they could armor out of it. Whereas Cyrax was just all sorts of unfair, but I'll go into that in more detail later on. The point is that Reptile is a great example of a character with a lot of moves, but not too much damage, that way it levels out. And don't misunderstand me, Reptile has done very well in tournaments recently. Just watch a player called That Pro Stunner. He is crazy good with Reptile, and shows what all that character can do. So if the Tri-Cyborg does end up having all the moves of Cyrax, Sektor, and Smoke, then I hope his damage output is more like Reptile's. Because that's the only way I can think of that would balance it. If he has that many moves and can change up on the fly like that in between matches, he would be very unfair at tournaments. Think about it. You have a Cyrax main who loses, and then he immediately switches to Sektor and just dominates the opponent. Because Cyrax doesn't have any crazy teleport punches, but Sektor does, so suddenly you have a character who can punish anything from full screen, whereas Cyrax is more about setups and bomb placement. And then you have Smoke, who's able to teleport the opponent to him, so it's an entirely different beast. So chances are, the character is actually going to have about 2 or 5 moves from each character, and I think 5 is really pushing it. We'd be lucky if we got 3 different moves for each character. That being said, I also hope he has some unique attack strings. I don't like how some variations don't change the attack strings at all. They just give you new special moves. I find that a bit bland. So here's my biggest issue. This character is either going to be everything you want and have to be nerfed to hell, much like Cyrax was in MK9. Cyrax literally had the nickname, the Leaky Boat. And the reason they called him that is because he was always getting patched, meaning they were constantly nerfing him because he was that unfair. Every time they nerfed him, the players found out a new trick that made him overpowered once again. He really was never balanced, which is why he kept winning tournaments. And that issue could arise once again. This new character, the Tri-Cyborg as some call it, myself included, could be way too powerful, or he'll just be around average. Or he could be perfect, but that depends on how the developers do it. They have to make sure that he has just enough to make the fans happy, but not so much that he's unfair and pisses off everybody else. Because keep in mind, the majority of players will not be using this character. And when I say that, I don't mean that he won't be a popular DLC character. In fact, I think he will be the second most popular for sure, right behind the Xenomorph. That being said, I'm referring to the whole roster. You're more likely to fight any other character on the roster than you are to fight the Tri-Cyborg. That's all I'm saying. And that's the biggest pitfall that I hope NetherRealm doesn't fall into. I hope they give the player just enough to be satisfied, but not so much that it's a perfect clone. Because Sektor, Smoke, and Cyrax were all really good characters in MK9, although Sektor definitely was the lowest. So I would personally prefer that Sektor was much better in this game, and Cyrax could be a little bit lower and Smoke in the middle, because Cyrax was way overdone in MK9. That being said, guys, please do not misunderstand me. I do want this character to meet all your expectations and to just make your dreams come true. I really do. But I just have so much fear that this character will either be overpowered or completely useless because you're dividing one character into 3 different playstyles. That's going to be really difficult. Think of characters like Kenshi. All 3 of Kenshi's variations are completely different. Which sounds like a good thing, but what actually ends up happening is players only use the one variation. Almost everyone who plays Kenshi professionally uses his possessed variation. They do use Kenjutsu every now and then, but it's very, very rare. You don't see it very often. And that's my fear with the Tri-Cyborg. I think one of the robot variations are going to be very, very good, and the rest just won't get used at all. And that's very depressing. Because I really do hate seeing characters like Sub-Zero, who are always limited to one variation at tournaments. You never see anybody using Cryomancer anymore. They even buffed his damage to an absurd amount, and still nobody uses him. And the reason why is because that ice clone is just way too good. And that's the issue with the Tri-Cyborg. It doesn't matter how good Smoke is, if Cyrax or Sektor have a move that's just really good, then they're going to be the only version getting played. And that could work the other way as well. It could be that Sektor has a really good move, and then Cyrax and Smoke are useless. Or maybe Cyrax has a good move, and therefore Sektor and Smoke become useless. That's my biggest fear. What if he has a move in one variation that just makes the others irrelevant? That's the issue. I'm afraid this character will take a lot of patches before he's actually balanced. Either that, or he's going to be so bad that nobody touches him. It's going to be one of the two. I'd much rather it land somewhere in the middle, trust me, and I'm crossing my fingers that I am wrong about these predictions, but it's just my biggest fear. I honestly objected the entire idea when I first heard it, especially when Maximilian said it. I never wanted all 3 robots in one character. I would have preferred they just pick one, because I knew balancing him would be really, really difficult. And I think we're going to see that, depending on how NetherRealm handles it. That being said, they could do a tremendous job and make him perfectly and done properly. However, it sounds very, very difficult. That being said, if anyone can do it, it's NetherRealm. They are very good at balancing their characters and constantly making patches, nerfs here, buffs there, trying to make the roster feel very fair and balanced. And they're doing a pretty damn good job so far. So I wish them the best of luck. But enough of my rambling. What do you dogs think? Does the Tri-Cyborg sound like a dream come true, or a nightmare come to life? Please post your opinion down below. And while you're down there, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more videos like this one. It's something new that I'm trying out, and I really hope it takes off. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.